Hello, welcome to another ODNT Spotlight. I'm your host, Steve DeWinter, and we have with us a guest who is returning. We've had her on the show before. Her name is Madeline Holly Rosing, and she is the creator-writer for Boston Metaphysical Society. I stumble all over those words here. So Boston Metaphysical Society, which is a 6-issue graphic novel slash comic. I think it started out as a webcomics, but we have her here, so we'll definitely talk to her about that. And then we'll also touch in something that she utilized that became very successful for the this series, where she created a book around it where she utilized Kickstarter for this series, and then she took a lot of her thoughts, ideas, concepts, what she learned, mistakes that were made, and so that everyone out here can learn from how she did it. She also created a book for you called Kickstarter for the Independent Creator. So let's go ahead and switch on over. Hello, Madeline. Welcome back to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me back, Steve. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So tell us, so this is the final issue number 6 of Boston Metaphysical Society.
Yes. It's 3 years in the making.
3 years?
3 years.
Wow. How does it feel to be done with it?
It's kind of a shock right now. I'm still kind of decompressing over the fact that it's done, but it didn't feel really done until last week when I got the rest of the Kickstarter rewards out the door. And so now I'm selling issue 6 online, and I'll be selling it at cons as well. So for people who are new to the series, they can buy the whole series now in one fell swoop. So
they no longer have to wait.
They no longer
what happens next?
Yes. So finally, everyone finds out how Caitlin, Samuel, and Granville, do they really take down the shifter? What happens there?
So tell us, I know we've had it in a previous episode, but somebody might be watching this that didn't watch one of our earlier shows. So tell us about the Boston Metaphysical Society. What is that about?
Well, the story is about an ex-Pinkerton detective and his spirit photographer partner who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. So think steampunk X-Files.
Oh, nice. Good timing, too. They got the X-Files miniseries coming out.
Yeah, I didn't plan that. It just worked out that way.
Excellent. And so right now, issue 6, I see is available on your Story Envy. I have the link for that here down in the description below. Okay. Story Envy, is it for sale anywhere else in paperback, or is it just there so far?
Well, right now it's at Store Envy. I'll be selling it at cons. I'll be at Condor Con at the end of the month.
That's down in San Diego.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct. Then I'll be at Silicon Valley in San Jose, WonderCon. I know Clockwork Alchemy.
I'll have to say hi to you at both of those. I'm going to be in. I'll be visiting the Silicon Valley Comic Con, which is Steve Wozniak's new deal.
Yes, yeah.
And then I'll also be at Clockwork Alchemy, so I'll have to pop in and say hi to you all the time.
Oh, no, that would be great. And then we're back at San Diego Comic Con this year. We were invited back. So Excellent. We will be over in Artist Alley, so people can come visit us there as well. It will be at a couple of stores locally. I haven't gone by there to drop them off yet. They'll be at House of Secrets in Burbank and Collector's Paradise in Pasadena. I'll be over there in the next couple weeks. And then there's a few out of town, like one in Sacramento and one in Olympia, Washington, and other places. But primarily, you can get it from me either at cons or through my website.
That's through your website, through the Store Envy link. And so Correct. I have the link to pick up the paperback copy of it and all the 5 before it. So get all 6 now that they're all out.
Yes.
And so I'll have the links for that and for your website and everything down below. I've got your website, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google, your LinkedIn, your Goodreads, all the ways to connect with you so that they can get your books.
Oh, thank you very much.
So this is a steampunk X-Files.
Correct.
And
Correct.
What was your decision? I know we talked about it before, but what was your decision to make this a graphic novel or comic book style? It started out as a webcomic?
Well, actually, it originally started out as a TV pilot that I wrote when I was at UCLA Film School. I have an MFA in screenwriting, and I developed it while I was there. Did well in competitions and got some reads and favorable feedback. But this is expensive to make, and I was an unknown. So it was suggested that I adapt it into a comic or a graphic novel to create what we call pre-existing material to sell. And so I said, okay. So I went and learned how to write comics and adapted the TV pilot into the 6-issue miniseries. But of course, along the way, I discovered I really love writing comics. So here I am, and I'm stuck.
It's like, all right. I was the same way. I went and now what is it? 16 years ago, I went and I said, I'm going to make a movie. Gathered all my friends together. I wrote it, filmed it, edited it, got the music to get it, did all that stuff, made the DVD for it. It's available on Amazon. And I'm like, you know what? What I loved most was the writing.
Yeah.
I didn't like all that other stuff. So now I just do novels.
Yeah. I mean, the production side is hard. And I mean, I was the chief cook and bottle washer for Boston Metaphysical. I had a team, an amazing team. Emily Hughes, my artist, Gloria Colley is my colorist, Troy Pateri, my letterer, Jason Dube was my production guy. So, you still have to manage the production of this. And then, of course, the production of the Kickstarter campaigns, which is a whole other thing.
So let's go ahead and let's go down that dark road.
Yeah, it's a dark path.
So you utilized Kickstarter for this, and what was the deciding factor to say, hey, let's go to crowdsource funding to help pay for some of this or offset the cost at the minimum, right?
Well, that was the reason exactly. Producing comics is very expensive, particularly when you want quality. If my name is going to be on it, I want it to look good. So,
yeah.
I pay people who know what they're doing. Because I can't draw. I can do stick figures and stuff, but that's
stick figures look like a stick figure drew my stick figures.
Yeah. It's pretty much like that. So yeah, we needed help financially, and the first Kickstarter we ran, we had the first 3 issues completed. Had a decent presence online, decent social media, not anywhere close to what I have now. 3 years later.
Right.
But I guess in 2013, I could give you a little lecture education here, because I actually teach Kickstarter classes for independent creators at Pulp Fiction Books in Culver City.
Oh, very nice.
In 2013, you really saw a change on Kickstarter. And the change, before that, it was all shiny and new. And people are just throwing money at stuff. It was, oh my God, look at all this wonderful stuff. It's creative. We love it. And then backers got burned. They didn't get the rewards. They didn't get their stuff. And you started seeing it change over into an almost pre-order concept on Kickstarter for comics. And even those people who were well-known and well-established, they even made sure they were like 3/4 of the way complete before they launched.
Nobody's going to believe them that you're going to finish this.
Yeah, particularly if they don't know you, they've never seen you. Sure, you've gotten 3 out, but does that mean you're going to get the next 3 out? People were never really sure.
The trust has been shaken.
Well,
even though it wasn't you.
Yeah, and that's true. A lot of people have never gotten rewards of projects they back, 3 to 4 years ago, and I don't blame them. So people got more choosy, and Kickstarter went from kind of what you would call amateurs running the campaigns to professionally run campaigns.
Well, because the amateurs weren't delivering.
Well, also, you just saw Kickstarter homepages with really professional-looking videos, as opposed to like, "Hi, I'm me on my webcam. Come, support my."
Here's me in the mall with my phone.
Yeah, that kind of thing, and it changed to more professional, in just the look and the feel. And the backers were more selective, as they should be, quite frankly. They should be. Backers should do their homework before they back projects of people they don't know.
Right. They're mini investors.
Well, I don't use the term investing because that means something else legally.
Right.
Yes. So it's always backers or your pledge. Yeah, you never use that word, investing in Kickstarter. That's something else entirely. But we launched in 2013, our first Kickstarter, and we didn't know any of this that had happened. And because we launched towards the end of the year, we also didn't know that even though we were having decent unique views per month, number-wise on the webcomic, because yes, we did start as a webcomic to build a fan base. Most, I would say, less than 3% of the people who read it online contributed to the Kickstarter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they gave you metrics on how many people looked at it?
Well, I can get Google metrics on how many unique views and how many people are watching it, reading per week and per day and everything. And the numbers that we had justified the amount we were looking for. If even, say, 5% of the people backed it at a, anywhere $15 to $20 range. You have to do averages in your budget.
Right.
And that just didn't happen.
Wow.
It just didn't happen. And it's kind of a rude awakening for webcomic people that unless already have a huge fan base. And, we're talking girl genius level fan base. I mean, and that's huge.
Right.
They don't need to worry about that too much because they're in a whole different level than myself and most people. And good for them. They should be. They're fabulous, both Kaya.
Right. They worked at it. They did it.
Oh yeah, no, they've they're terrific. But I'm not them. I can't produce the amount of pages that quickly, and I haven't been around as long. I'm the new kid on the block. So yeah, for webcomics, anyone who has started a webcomic and wants to launch a Kickstarter without doing the con circuit first is heading for trouble.
Right. You gotta establish that you're real.
Yes. And also, the people who are willing to buy your comic at a con are the ones who are most likely going to be the ones who are going to back your Kickstarter if they like your comic.
Right.
If
they want to see more of it.
Yeah, because they want to see more of it. And that's where I get the vast majority of my backers is by cons. And
so you've got a unique Kickstarter group. You're meeting them face to face.
Yes.
Rather than they're finding you on Kickstarter and then backing you that way.
Well, I do get new people who find me through Kickstarter, which is awesome too, because I have people like, oh, I never even heard this before until I found you on Kickstarter, and which is amazing, and that's wonderful when that happens.
Right, and it becomes a whole other avenue for awareness.
Yeah, well, that's why Kickstarter is so great. It's a huge community. People go on it to look for new and unique projects, and they love to back things that appeals to them, obviously.
Right.
But it's but to get to that point takes a lot of work. So
it's always hard. It always boils down to doing it.
Yeah.
Nose to the grindstone.
Well, that's part of what I talk about. If we want to segue into my book, Kickstarter for the Independent Creator, because one of the reasons I wanted to write that book is because I saw a lot of really terrific projects on Kickstarters do the crash and burn. And it wasn't because they were bad, and not even it was just they weren't prepared. They just weren't prepared. And they didn't put together that critical email list of backers ahead of time that are going to fund you up to 25 to 35% in your first 3 days.
So that it looks like you're a hot property.
That's right, because that keeps you on the first page of the most popular comics on Kickstarter. I mean, because let's face it, when you go to Kickstarter, you're like, oh, okay, well, you look, oh, what's popular? Do you
right? That's what I do.
Yeah, you do that, right? Do you look past the first page?
No, you're not going to click to the next page.
Yeah. That's my point exactly. So you want to launch out, like a rocket, and then keep the momentum going, because it's gonna nosedive. It always starts up like this, and then goes like this, and then it flattens, and then goes up again. And here, a friend of mine, actually Sarah Rourke, who does After Daylight, which is a web comic that has gone to print as well. She calls it the bathtub curve.
Uh-huh.
And she's absolutely right. It's a bathtub curve. But once you get that momentum going, you can at least get, a few pledges every day through your 30 days. And Kickstarter has an internal algorithm that if that algorithm sees that you are steadily rising, they're going to bump you up a little bit. Just
give you a little more visibility to people who are just looking.
Yeah, just a little more visibility. Keep you on that first page. And hopefully in the first week you'll be funded, and then you'll just be working on stretch goals. But no, it's interesting. I participated in a gentleman from the Wharton School of Economics did a research project on Kickstarter, and like how many hours and all the statistics involved with it.
Right.
And I just received his preliminary benchmark report, and which none of it surprised me. But
he'd been there, done that.
Yeah, I actually posted it on my personal Facebook page. The entire benchmark report is on my personal page. You spend 31 hours a week before the campaign preparing, like 30 hours a week during the campaign.
It's a almost full-time job.
Yeah, no, I tell people it is another full-time job, and they have to prepare for it both mentally and physically and psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to prepare yourself for that first bathtub dip.
Well, there was one young lady who decided she was running her Kickstarter. I don't remember her name or her project, but she decided to videotape, I guess, a little bit every day of how she was doing, and post on YouTube. Well, of course, the first week or so, it was like, yay, rah, rah. And, young woman, she was doing okay. By the second or third week, she was like in her bathrobe and clearly hadn't slept in God knows how long. And she just said, I can't believe how hard this is. She was just not prepared. I mean, emotionally and psychologically for the stress. That's why I also recommend that if you're doing this by yourself, that if you have a partner or a husband, spouse, whatever, that just make sure you're fed and watered and you get sleep.
Somebody to do the stuff that normally comes naturally to you.
Yes.
You need to outsource that to somebody else or it won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm much more organized about this now, so it doesn't happen, quite as often. It still does a little bit. As my husband says, in the last Kickstarter, I would just start doing stress baking. I was like, okay, I must go bake something now. And because normally I don't do any of that till like the weekend. In the middle of the week, I was like baking stuff because it was a stress thing just to do something else because I had to step away, for a little while.
No more Kickstarters the month before our vacation to Barbados. I need to look good for my swimsuit.
Oh, except for those of us who forget to eat.
Yeah.
I've done that. I have done that. I was like, okay, no, just one more tweet, and then I'm going to go get a yogurt. Just one more tweet.
One more tweet, and then I'll refresh the Kickstarter page. See how we're doing now.
Yeah. 3 hours later, have not gotten the yogurt. It's like, oh, I'm hungry. Why am I hungry? Oh, yeah, I was supposed to go eat. I forgot.
And then there's all your activity after your Kickstarter actually is funded, and then you actually succeed in accomplishing what you said you would with your Kickstarter.
Yes.
Now you have all the prizes and promises you've made
Yeah.
to fulfill.
Yeah. What I've tried, particularly in the last one, I knew it'd be a few months before the books came in, but I wanted to run the Kickstarter before the holidays because holidays are a terrible time to run a Kickstarter.
People are so busy with the holiday stuff.
They're traveling, they're just not paying attention.
Yep.
So I had some reward tiers that did have some a little extras like lapel pins and things like that. So after we received the money, through Kickstarter, I started sending out the lapel pins and the other stuff. So people, over the next 6 weeks were getting stuff. So they felt that they hadn't been forgotten and
That's very nice.
Stuff was getting to them because I knew, it was going to be a little while for the book. And actually it was 3 weeks longer than I expected, which actually was pretty good.
That's not bad in the publishing world. That's actually just a blink.
Yeah, to me it was still on time. I mean, I think I said, we'll deliver December 2015, and I, finished shipping books out last week, towards the end of January. That's on time in Kickstarter land.
That's phenomenal in Kickstarter land. Excellent. So, and then you also wrote this book. I went and I put the cover up here, Kickstarter for the Independent Creator.
Yes.
And is this geared towards people who are making webcomics, that are trying to publish books, or is this book geared more towards anybody who's trying to create something?
I do talk specifically about comics and the comic book world, but the strategies can work for any type of independent creator, from music to a novel, say for editorial costs for Kickstarter, for jewelry. It's the same strategies. It's just that since I'm more familiar with comics, the lists of places you can contact for reviews and interviews are all comic related, of course.
Right. But take that same concept and find the list for your music or anything else. Yeah.
In teaching the seminar over at Pulp Fiction Books down in Culver City, I've had, I think, a gentleman writing, a biography of a baseball player there, a guy who's doing his own CD, who's a musician, along with, comic creators, because they realize, it's the same thing. I just have to translate it into my world, but the strategies are exactly the same.
Right, exactly. Excellent. So, is there anything else that you want to mention for the Kickstarter stuff?
Other than we're done and it's out and you can see the remnants behind me of shipping material.
The last few things, everything's been shipped out. Everyone's happy.
Yes, I only have, at CondorCon, I have one hand delivery there. And that's it.
Excellent.
We're done.
So you are done and done. So what is next from the great Madeline Holly Rosing? Now that Boston Metaphysical Society is, the first 6 issues are done. Is there going to be more issues for this? Are you looking to stretch into other realms? What's next from you?
Well, all of the above. My husband and I have been discussing this quite vehemently lately of which direction it should go. It will probably be a good year before we go to trade because a lot of people want the trade, but we're discussing what the extras will be in the trade. And he had an idea, which I don't want to put forth now to get people excited. He had a really good idea. It all depends on the budget. And if we pull it off, even the people who already have the 6 issues will want the trade.
And the trade is the hardbound, all 6 issues?
Yeah, it's actually be what's called a perfect bound.
Okay.
All 6 issues, all nice and beautiful. It'll have a new cover, and it will have extras that will never be online, ever.
So there's your incentive right there.
Yeah. So I already know what story it's going to be, but it's a budget thing. So we're going to see how things go this year. Novels are in the future. as well. Because I don't know if you know this, I've also written a series of short stories and novellas that are prequels to the comic.
Ah.
They're in an anthology called Boston Metaphysical Society Prelude. You can also find that on Amazon as well.
Right, and I have the link for that. And if you click on check out Madeline's other books on Amazon, click on that link and you'll see that is one of the ones in the list there.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun for me to write because I'm establishing canon of the world before, all of these, before Caitlin, Samuel, and Granville came together as a team. You meet her father, Andrew, briefly in issue 1, but in the short stories and the novella, he's actually very much alive.
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah, it's in the first 3 pages, so it's hardly a spoiler. Poor Andrew. But yeah, he's in a couple of the stories, actually 3 of the stories. Probably the fan favorite so far is one called Steampunk Rat. And that's a story of a 15-year-old Jonathan Welsmore. And Jonathan Welsmore became Samuel Hunter's father-in-law.
Ah, okay.
So that was inspired by 2 friends of mine who I said, like, okay, what's the next story I should write? And they said, well, we want to see Jonathan in happier times. I said, okay.
Stop torturing the poor guy.
So it's not quite great for him, but it is a different life before he became the man we see in the comic. But yeah, everyone seems to really enjoy Steampunk Rat. But yeah, it's about him and his pet rat, and it's a perspective of the rat and Jonathan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So novels are definitely in the future.
Still staying within Boston Metaphysical Society canon, and are they the universe?
It'll stay in the canon. I'll be doing probably, I would say, prequels to this. So it enables me to do more world building.
Right.
Before these people met, of stories of when Samuel's wife was still alive, and
spoiler.
No, not really. That's not a spoiler. She's dead at the beginning of the comic. So, but how she died and how that came about, and then a thing called the House Wars, which is my version of the Civil War.
Ah.
And that will be a lot of fun to dig into. And I can't wait to do that. But I do have another project I have to get finished before I do that. So, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Excellent. And are any of these projects going to need, except for the trade, anything else you think is going to need any Kickstarter to go for it?
We've also talked about doing 32-page one-shots. And if we do that, then yeah, we'll probably have to go to Kickstarter.
Now you can get them printed.
Yeah.
And out to people. That's great.
Yeah. But of course, it all comes to budget.
Yes. It always comes down to the money.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's why it's a graphic novel and not a movie starring Brad Pitt yet. It's just the budget.
Yeah, it's just the budget. Well, if that happens, then probably budget won't be much of an issue. So.
If he gets attached, budget won't be a problem.
No.
All right. Well, those are all the questions that I have. Before we shut down the interview, is there anything else you would like to add?
For those of you who do read Boston Metaphysical online, I will start uploading Chapter 6 this Thursday. And that will run for 22, 23 weeks. I do a page a week. I may have to take a couple weeks, 1 or 2 weeks off for traveling. But that'll be launching because I know we do have some online readers. And thank you very much for reading online. Keep passing the word. And I think that's it. I think we have a lot of decisions we have to make. I mean, I'm currently rewriting a middle grade fantasy novel. that has nothing to do with Boston Metaphysical, which is kind of nice right now. I need a break.
A break from it, yes.
Yeah. And once that's done, then a lot of other things are going to start ticking back to Boston Metaphysical.
Excellent. All right. Well, hey, thank you very much, Madeline, for coming back on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to meet and greet and have fun with people and see their new projects that are coming along. And definitely when you have your other stuff coming out, love to have you back on again.
Thank you very much.
Cool. So don't hang up just yet. I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and shut down the interview, and I'll be right back. We'll chat for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
So again, that was Madeline Holly Rosing. Let me start that again. So Madeline Holly Rosing, as I trip over all my words again. And so we just talked with her, and she has a book out, Kickstarter for the Independent Creator. And even though it's, focused on webcomics and creating comics, which was the focus she used it for, the concepts and everything are all the same for whether you want to do it for music or traditional just text written novels, like what I do, or you want to make a film or whatever. It's the concepts of utilizing Kickstarter for your project. And then we just got done talking about Boston Metaphysical Society. Issue number 6 is out. All the people who had Kickstarter helped make this happen, they've already been sent their stuff, so they're happily reading it now. And if you want your chance to read it, all 6 issues are now available. You can get them at Madeline's site. You can get some of them also, it looks like, on Amazon, as well as check out some of the prequels for this. So again, I am Steve DeWinter. Thank you very much for joining me here at ODNT for our ODNT Spotlight, where we shine the lights on authors, artists, creators, books, their projects, all sorts of stuff. I have other people that will be coming on throughout the year, as a lot of other stuff that I'm doing. So don't forget to subscribe, join the ODN team, and subscribe to this channel. And we are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Yay! So we're getting up there. And we're getting bigger and better and more and having more influence on the YouTube universe. All right, so hey, thank you very much. Have a great day. Ciao.